call for extraordinary people. Adaptation Champions Awards from the Global Center on Adaptation celebrates the people and organizations rising to the challenge, transforming adversity into resilience and empowering communities to adapt and thrive. This year, we are honoring champions in 4 critical areas: nature-based solutions, women's livelihoods, citizen science, and health.
And welcome to the 2025 Local Adaptation Champions Award ceremony. My name is Anju Sharma, and I lead the work on locally led adaptation at the Global Center on Adaptation. We are deeply honored to be joined at this meeting not only by our 4 remarkable award winners, but also Her Excellency Rosângela Lula da Silva, the First Lady of Brazil, and Her Royal Highness Princess Dana Firas of Jordan, who are here to celebrate and recognize their achievements. Her Excellency Rosângela served also on this year's distinguished jury, along with His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations and the Honorary Chair of the GCA Supervisory Board, Baroness Chapman of Darlington, the Minister of International Development and Africa of the United Kingdom, Osmund Grover Aukrust, the Minister of International Development of Norway, Nardos Bekele Thomas, the CEO of the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, and our own President and CEO, Professor Patrick Vercoyen. This is the 4th year of the awards, which were launched in 2022 to spotlight communities on the front line of climate change, whose leadership often goes unseen and under-supported. The awards recognize innovative, exemplary, inspiring, and scalable locally led efforts that are strengthening resilience among the world's climate vulnerable people. This year, we received 482 applications from 89 countries, with 64% coming from sub-Saharan Africa. The submissions demonstrate both the diversity of frontline adaptation and the areas where additional attention is needed. Nearly half of the applications, 48%, focused on nature-based solutions, highlighting the essential role of ecosystems in climate resilience. 37% focused on women's livelihoods, while citizen science and health, at 9% and 6% respectively, clearly remain critically under-supported areas that require far greater global investment. As a member of the Technical Advisory Group, I can say with confidence that the quality of applications this year was exceptional. The competition was extremely strong across all categories, and I would like to express my sincere appreciation to my fellow advisory group members for helping identify the finalists and to the prestigious jury for selecting our awardees. To the many applicants who are not here in the room with us today, your leadership will still inspire others, and your initiatives will be shared widely through our global hub on locally led adaptation. Thank you for taking the time to document your innovation and your service to the communities. With these opening remarks, I'm pleased to invite Professor Patrick Vercoyen, President and CEO of the Global Center of Adaptation, to deliver his welcome address. Patrick.
Thank you so much, Anju, and Honorable First Lady, and Her Highness. I have a 9-page speech, which I could read out, but maybe I should not. Let me speak a little bit from the heart about that photo, actually. This is a photo in a place called an island called Ringiti. Ringiti is in Kenya. This is Homa Bay County. This is very close to Lake Victoria. And we all know, of course, Lake Victoria is the 2nd largest freshwater lake in the world. It's the source of the Nile. But the reason I was there, the man with the hat, by the way, that's me. I was there to meet with that person is because of the following. This lady is Dolrose Adiambo. Right? Dolrose is her first name. She is a fisherwoman. She fishes every day on Lake Victoria. And Anju and I, we were there. And obviously I came, well, not in my suit, but I said, oh, do you know about climate change? Do you know about meetings? Do you know about COP30, important, etc.? So I said, no. What I know is that what I fish in Lake Victoria, what I fish today, is less than it was last year. And it was less than it was 3 years ago. What I know in Ringiti, that the water, the rain which fell this year, was much more intense and in much more concentrated time than it was before. What I know, Doro said, that water, sanitation, health, it doesn't really work for us. We're very remote, far away from Nairobi. So Doro said, well, Patrick, what we need is not people from the global north like yourself, right? Middle-aged white man coming to tell us what to do, because we know what to do. We know what is needed. So the know what to do and the know what is needed turned into a people-led, bottom-up, we call it the People's Adaptation Plan. These are the plans of the priorities set out by Dolrose and her colleagues, her friends, her family members, her neighbors. And as Hans Ola from Norway and Debbie from the UK may agree with, we're going to hear listen in a few minutes, is you can have a great plan, right? It's bottom up, all the right priorities. We need water, we need sanitation, we need education, we need health. But if it's not financed, a plan is there, it's quite trivial. So we, as the Global Center on Adaptation, the only reason which we exist is to be a transmission belt. A transmission belt by people on the ground, such as Dolrose, and international finance institutions in Africa, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, who then finance what? The plans of the people on the ground. That is basically what we have been doing over the last few years. So here today, if I may speak very frankly, my one message to the First Lady and to the First Husband, if I can call it that way, is to take Doro's story very literally. Because what you cannot see there, for the first time, to make it very personal, I brought my daughter to Africa. So my daughter was at that island. So when we had this conversation, we were about to walk away, and then Dolrose took my daughter, Fleur, and she said, listen, I have a secret to share. And she said, my name Dolrose, it's my name, Dolrose. Rose stands for beauty, of course, but it also stands for resilience. And we here in this place, extremely resilient. But then the beauty, the kicker is, her last name is Adhiambo. And in Kenya, there are all these different languages. One language is Luo. Adhiambo means born in the evening. So now we're on day one at COP30, where climate action is under threat, where particularly adaptation and resilience is under threat. Who's going to fund this? I hope that all of us, but particularly the First Lady and the First Husband, will take Dolrose Adhiambo's story literally. We're on the eve of a transformation of the adaptation agenda. And I think Dolrose is showing that this can happen. The nominees today are a testimony that this can happen. But what we need to do now to bring this at scale and bring this at speed. So that's why we're all very humbled to be here in the Amazon under the leadership of the government of Brazil to drive this transformation. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Patrick. I now invite Her Excellency Rosângela Lula da Silva, First Lady of Brazil, to deliver her keynote address. Her Excellency, as many of you will know, serves as the Special Envoy for Women of COP30. She has worked for decades on social projects on gender, income generation, and sustainable development, and promoted public policies to combat gender violence, food insecurity, and hunger, and to increase women's political participation. Excellency, please. Would you rather speak from there? Yes, let's speak.
Alô. Hello. Bom dia a todas as pessoas. Eu vou pedir desculpa para vocês por duas coisas. Primeiro, pelo calor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to apologize to you all for two things. First of all, for the heat.
Por mais que a gente trabalhe, sempre dá uma coisinha errada e hoje vocês vão passar por um pouco de calor, mas a gente promete que vai resolver.
For as much as we work, there's always something in a glitch, but today we promise that everything will be sorted out.
Esse é como vocês já devem ter conhecido a chuva amazônica, esse é o calor amazônico, né? Como o Patrick já andou pela África, ele sabe bem que esse calor tropical é característico.
As you probably have seen the Amazonian rain, this is the Amazonian heat. And Patrick has been to Africa. He knows how it feels to be in the middle of the forest.
Minha segunda desculpa é eu vou falar em português, eu estou no meu país. Meu inglês ainda não é muito bom, mas eu vou preferir falar em português. Infelizmente não temos simultâneo, então vai ser consecutivo. A Cláudia vai me ajudar.
And my second apology is that I'm going to be speaking my own language, which is Portuguese. And I'm learning English, but then I'm going to be using the interpreter Cláudia to help me.
Ok. Bom, eu queria agradecer ao Patrick, à Global Center on Adaptation, pelo convite, por ser a esse chamado. Foi mais do que um convite, foi um chamado a ser jurada, né, dessa importante premiação.
I would like to thank Patrick and the Global Center for Adaptation. More than just being here to serve as a jury, this has been like a call to be part of this important award.
Aos meus colegas aqui que dividem, a princesa da Jordânia, a princesa Dana, o senhor Hans, enviado especial do Clima e Segurança da Noruega.
I would like to acknowledge my colleagues here, Her Royal Highness Princess Dana from Jordan, Hans, and a Special Envoy for Climate and Security, Debbie as well, Commonwealth, and Professor Patrick once again, and Mrs. Anju Sharma.
Thank you for this. Eu vou seguir um pouquinho o caminho do Patrick, ele trilhou aí um caminho no começo, eu vou seguir um pouco o caminho dele, falando do coração.
I will follow the lead of Patrick. He said he speaks from the heart, and I will speak from my heart.
Eu também tenho o meu discurso aqui, mas por primeiro eu queria dizer que esse é efetivamente o primeiro dia da COP e a gente já teve um exemplo muito importante do que significa a gente estar aqui reunido para realmente enfrentar as mudanças climáticas.
I have my speech here. This is the first day of COP, and this is all about what it means to be here tackling climate change.
Nos últimos dias, o Caribe e, infelizmente, o sul do meu país, o estado onde eu nasci, uma cidade foi devastada por um tornado e que deixou muitos mortos. E esse é um momento que a gente olha para isso e vê realmente que é um momento de virada de chave, de que a gente precisa encontrar soluções para as mudanças climáticas.
In the last few days, we've had events in the Caribbean, and just the other day, an event in my home state, the state of Paraná, where I'm from, which was struck by a tornado. So this is more than ever a moment for us to look at climate change.
E enfrentar a crise climática de forma serena, mas com muita rapidez, agindo de forma coletiva, e isso que vai nos dar talvez um novo caminho, o mapa do caminho, como tem sido o conceito que a gente tem trabalhado aqui na COP30, e também a palavra mutirão, que é o que nos movimenta.
So we have to be talking here in a serene way, but also with seriousness, and not to forget the collective effort with the word mutirão, which is what moves us.
Assim como o Patrick andou por algumas comunidades, eu, como enviada especial para as mulheres para a COP30, eu caminhei pelo Brasil, nos 6 biomas brasileiros durante os últimos meses, conversando com mulheres e conhecendo a forma como elas enfrentam as mudanças climáticas.
Just as Patrick has wandered around Africa, I did the same here in Brazil. As a special envoy for women for the COP, I visited several women, seeing how much they tackle climate change by themselves.
E do mesmo jeito que você perguntou para essa pescadora que você nos mostrou aqui, se ela conhecia o que era a COP, se ela sabia das mudanças climáticas, e ela disse, não, mas eu estou aqui e eu sei o que fazer.
Just like you asked that fisherwoman if she knew what COP was all about, what climate change was all about. She said she didn't know the names, but she knew how to act.
Aqui no Brasil eu encontrei a mesma realidade. Me angustiava muito ir conversar com mulheres ribeirinhas de uma comunidade remota da Amazônia e elas perguntarem para mim o que a COP30 no que ela vai impactar a minha vida.
I did go around some riverine communities and I found riverine women and I asked them what COP30 would impact their lives about.
E são pelas mulheres que eu conversei no Brasil, por essa mulher pescadora que a gente precisa realmente sair dessa COP30 com as propostas efetivamente implementadas. Eu acho que essa é a COP da implementação, a COP da verdade, como o presidente Lula fala, a COP em que a gente precisa sair da mesa de negociação, desculpa, Cláudia, dos homens brancos engravatados e partir para a implementação das ações que realmente façam a diferença no enfrentamento às mudanças climáticas.
So it is for these women, it is for that woman that you chose that we have to be making this COP30 the COP of implementation, like President Lula said well, the COP of truth. We have to get away from, as you said, the white men in ties and get away from it and go ahead and effectively perform the actions that are needed to tackle climate change.
A gente precisa honrar as pessoas que moram nesses lugares na Amazônia, na África, na floresta tropical do Congo, na Indonésia, nas ilhas da Oceania. A gente precisa honrar essas pessoas e sairmos daqui realmente determinados a implantar. E essa caminhada que a gente fez.
So we have to be looking at these women, not just in the Amazon, but in the Congo Basin, in Indonesia, and in the islands, so that we can go out and about and implement.
E essa caminhada que a gente fez pelo Brasil, a gente chamou de Vozes dos Biomas. E eu vou juntar as vozes do bioma, as vozes do Patrick pedindo por financiamento.
So the walks that I did here in Brazil, we called the whole campaign Vozes do Bioma, Biome Voices. So I'm going to join these voices with Patrick's voice to be able to ask for support.
A gente... quando eu recebi o chamado para ser jurada e conhecer esses projetos incríveis, né, por diferentes lugares do mundo, conectou muito com o que a gente estava conhecendo aqui no Brasil. Por isso que eu aceitei e fiquei muito honrada de conhecer essas experiências e ter escolhido, né, 4 delas. Né, foi uma dúvida muito difícil porque eu queria premiar todas, porque todas me impactaram e principalmente porque a grande maioria é conduzida por mulheres.
So when I was invited to be the jury here of your program, it was a true delight, and it gave me a very hard time because I wanted to give the award to all of them, but 4 had to be chosen. So it's not only a privilege, but also something dear to my heart, because all these projects, actually most of them, entail women's participation, and it resonates a lot with my experience here in Brazil.
E a gente sabe que essas soluções locais elas podem criar dimensão e se transformarem em soluções nacionais e soluções globais.
And we know that these local solutions can gain momentum and end up becoming national and global solutions.
Isso, aliado a financiamento. Por isso, o TFFF, lançado aqui pelo presidente Lula na COP na semana passada, ele talvez seja o grande instrumento e o grande caminho que a gente tem a percorrer para que a gente possa deixar nossas florestas em pé, deixar nossas florestas vivas e olhar para as comunidades que ali moram.
So this is why, together with financing, the TFFF, launched by President Lula, is a way for us to keep our forests standing, our forests alive, and this can be a way out as a resource for these people that are tackling the problem.
E aqui eu faço um apelo a todos os países, né, as organizações, os institutos, para que realmente pressionem e façam com que o financiamento seja aportado no TFFF, que vai fazer a diferença.
And I am here to also plead to all of you to ask your governments and your institutions to really make actual contributions to the TFFF so that we can really make a difference.
Eu queria agradecer, eu estou muito ansiosa para saber os vencedores.
I'm very anxious to know who the winners are.
Ok. Um abraço, gente. Aqui no Pará tem uma procissão de Nossa Senhora de Nazaré, que chama Círio de Nazaré.
Here in Pará State, there's a procession with a saint. She's called Our Lady of Nazareth.
E as pessoas se cumprimentam dizendo Feliz Círio.
And people call each other saying Happy Círio. That's how they call it.
E eu vou passar 10 dias cumprimentando você dizendo Feliz COP, que essa realmente seja uma COP da verdade, uma COP da implementação.
So, and I will be here these 10 days greeting everyone happy COP, so that this COP can be the COP of truth, the COP of implementation.
Obrigada.
Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your words and for your leadership. Your presence here really is a strong signal of Brazil's commitment to supporting adaptation led from the ground up. And now, without further ado, we'll go on to the reason we're here today, which is the presentation of the awards. So, as I said, we had 4 categories. The first category is women's livelihood. This category recognizes community-driven initiatives that enhance women's economic empowerment and leadership in the face of climate change. And the award goes to, I feel I should leave some space there for building the tension, but it's H.R.H. India for enabling more than 5,500 tribal women in drought-prone Kalahandi, Odisha, India, to lead climate-resilient agriculture, manage markets, and make decisions in their communities.
Once known for punishing drought and famine, Kalahandi in India is today emerging as a blossoming hub of women-led climate resilience, with tribal women farmers taking the lead in this historic transformation. Meet the winner in the Women's Livelihoods category of the local Adaptation Champions Awards. AJSA India. Through village consultations, women identified their greatest barriers: unreliable irrigation, exploitative middlemen, and poor access to markets. Over 3,500 women organized in producer groups and founded a company synchronizing crop cycles and managing sales. They became decision makers, deciding what to plant, how to manage funds, and how to run logistics. Once invisible and silent, women became role models for their daughters and other women in the community. Key to their success in achieving independence from middlemen was the launch of the Green Express, a fleet of electric carts the women own, drive, and know how to repair. With the flexibility to transport their produce to the market when it is freshest, the women reduce losses and negotiate better prices. During COVID-mandated lockdowns, the Green Express became a lifeline, supplying hospitals and relief centers and proving the model's resilience under crisis. Congratulations to AJSA India for putting vulnerable women in the driver's seat.
Receiving the award on behalf of AGSA is Mr. Manoranjan Behera. the fact that we have a male representative to accept this award is actually a reminder of the systemic barriers that women face in mobility and agency, because none of the women had passports to travel, unfortunately, and it was last minute. But thank you, Manoranjan, for making it. Another round of applause for Outside India. Thank you. The second category is health, and this category honors efforts that strengthen community health and psychosocial resilience to climate-related stress and disruption. Sorry? Okay. Sorry, well, we've got it mixed up a bit there. So it's nature-based solutions we'll go with. This category highlights community-led initiatives that protect essential infrastructure and services through the restoration and stewardship of ecosystems. And the award goes to Aquafondo from Peru for revitalizing ancestral Andean water systems. Receiving the award is
Long before modern engineering, Andean civilizations developed ingenious systems to store water by building infiltration canals and creating highland lagoons. Today, these ancestral technologies are being revived to save Lima, Peru's capital city, from a looming water crisis. Meet the winner in the Nature-Based Solutions category of the Local Adaptation Champions Awards, Aquafondo, the water fund for Lima and Callao. While funding comes from water-using companies and international partners, rural communities contribute labor and governance. Thanks to this joint effort, more than 300,000 residents of Lima benefit from improved water availability, and 3,900 hectares of degraded soil have been stabilized. Women now lead more than a third of local water committees in the high Andean communities, bringing their voices into decision-making on fund management, restoration work, and water governance. Elders share ancestral knowledge of water systems, while youth bring smartphones and sensors to monitor flows and soils. The work has sparked new unity, cultural pride, and resilience in the face of climate stress, and proved that working with nature can outperform expensive concrete infrastructure.
Receiving the award on behalf of Aquafondo is Ms. Paloma Maturama. Paloma, please. Another round of applause for Aquafondo. The third category is health, and this category honors efforts that strengthen community health and psychosocial resilience to climate-related stress and disruption. And the award this year goes to Foundation for Tomorrow from Kenya for providing integrated healthcare, trauma support, and emergency preparedness for families affected by climate change in Nairobi's informal settlements.
In Nairobi, Kenya, more than 2 million people live in informal settlements, in overcrowded, precarious housing and poor sanitation. Here, climate shocks hit hard, so people from 4 settlements joined forces to provide physical and mental health care for those who need it the most. Meet the winner in the Health Solutions category of the Local Adaptation Champions Awards, Foundation for Tomorrow. Its initiative, Climate Responsive Inclusive Health and Psychosocial Support, builds on the knowledge, leadership, and resilience of communities, bringing services directly to where people are, through a network of trained local caregivers and first responders. Mobile and home-based outreach ensures children with disabilities and elderly residents are not cut off during floods. Psychosocial hubs provide trauma support and counseling. Preparedness kits equip households with vital supplies, while youth-led theatre and storytelling challenge stigma around disability and mental health. Congratulations to Foundation for Tomorrow for empowering those most affected by climate change to take ownership and lead emergency response.
Receiving the award is Mr. George Kakala. Another round of applause for Foundation for Tomorrow. And the final category is Citizen Science, which recognizes community-driven research grounded in local knowledge, cultural heritage, and practical action. The 2025 award goes to Preserving Legacies for bringing together ancestral wisdom and scientific expertise to help communities protect cultural heritage while adapting to climate change.
Around the world, climate change threatens heritage sites and the communities whose cultural identities and living traditions depend on their preservation. Meet the winner in the Citizen Science category of the Local Adaptation Champions Awards, Preserving Legacies, a global initiative that empowers communities to lead climate adaptation grounded in their cultural and natural heritage. Heritage custodians use local knowledge, indigenous knowledge, and climate science to safeguard what matters most: their ways of life, their landscapes, and their legacy. Heritage custodians include community leaders, heritage managers, government officials, indigenous leaders, researchers, youth, and women. They set the priorities, then Preserving Legacies provides them with training, funding, toolkits, regional data hubs, and a global community of peers that deliver climate projections tailored for their specific contexts. As a result, adaptation plans are based on knowledge that weaves together science with local and indigenous expertise in a process of co-creation with communities and local stakeholders. By protecting heritage, Preserving Legacies is safeguarding places and traditions while building resilience, connection, and hope in the face of climate change.
Congratulations to Preserving Legacies. For reasons that will soon be clear, I would actually like to request Her Royal Highness to present this award. Patrick, please, you too as well. Yeah, you as well, please. Receiving the award is Mr. Celso Almeida, who represents a global network of 74 climate custodians. The custodians remind us that our heritage is not something to safeguard. It is a source of strength and identity that can guide us to a resilient future. Now to comments. Yeah. Congratulations to Preserving Legacies. I'm really pleased to announce one of the things they do is democratize data for communities. So they actually make data available on future climate impacts available, and that's something we're now going to add to the Global Hub on LLA, so communities around the world can benefit from that. Very quickly generate maps that tell them what temperatures and precipitation is going to look like in 5 to 10 years from now. So congratulations again to all the winners. Very well done. We'll now have brief remarks from Debbie Palmer, the Director for Energy, Climate and Environment at FCDO. Debbie.
Thank you very much. Try again. Can you hear me? Sure. good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much. It's a real privilege to be here this afternoon, and it's been a great delight for the UK to be on the jury of these Local Adaptation Champion Awards. Baroness Chapman of Darlington genuinely enjoyed engaging with all of this content, and she's told me, she asked me to explain today how inspiring she found it, reading those stories and hearing about people who are working so hard to transform the communities around them. So she expressed apologies that she couldn't be here today. For all of us in the room, we all know that putting local communities at the centre of decision-making on adapting to climate impacts is not just the right thing to do, but is very clearly, according to the evidence base, gives us more equitable outcomes and more efficient outcomes. And we know why, because those decisions are more context-specific. So we know that this approach is absolutely essential to ensuring that adaptation efforts are both people-centred, genuinely inclusive, and therefore sustainable. It stands to reason, but we also have the evidence base to back that up, which is incredibly important. The UK was one of the first countries to endorse the principles for locally led adaptation, and we're really invested in driving that forward. And that's why we are funding the Least Developed Countries Initiative for Effective Adaptation and Resilience. That's a long title. We call it Life AR. And it's such a powerful vehicle for learning what works and sharing that strong information so that globally we can put the principles into action that are based on strong evidence. We must move beyond treating adaptation as a discrete silo. Everybody in this room, we knows that if we're going to deliver a step change, and we've seen this through Hurricane Melissa in recent weeks, through the super typhoon in Philippines that's been going on over the last couple of days, we know that we need an integrated whole of economy approach, and we know that therefore we need to incentivize resilience being built in at every level of investment, at the government level, in terms of the decisions that businesses are making, but also in terms of individual households and consumers. And therefore, locally led adaptation and the meaningful engagement and involvement of marginalised groups in particular is absolutely central to turning that corner and making that shift globally. Patrick, you talked about being a transmission belt, and I really like that phrase because I think the FCDO is working with partners to really drive this conversation forward. We held an event in September which was about bringing together stakeholders across governments, civil society, MDBs and other parts of the finance system, because what we want to do is actively follow through on looking at how we can have the greatest impact, how we can ensure that transmission belt is working as effectively as possible, including ensuring that we are developing scalable models, that we're strengthening institutions in the right ways, and that we're amplifying what we can learn in terms of evidence and advocacy and building up that evidence base globally. So we're really delighted as the UK to be funding the GCA's Global Hub that was mentioned at the beginning on locally led adaptation. This is about sharing best practice. It's about learning. It's about learning from local people. It's about learning from local adaptation practices. It's not top-down, it's about the bottom-up. It's about being humble and really working out how we can drive the conversation forward. So the UK is very, very proud to have supported the learning that's been going on through that hub. We welcome the publication of the 2025 Stories of Resilience and the Lessons from Local Adaptation, and we are looking forward to see even more valuable learning coming out from programs like Life AR that I mentioned. So finally, just to say, we'd like to see even more climate interventions being designed and delivered, as all of our amazing winners have inspired us, by local people, local organisations, putting decision-making in the hands of women and girls, in the hands of Indigenous people, and supporting creative solutions in the face of increasing climate impacts. So from me, just to say thank you for all the inspiration, thank you for the years of hard work that will have gone into all of these initiatives that are making lives better for local communities. We salute you, we applaud you, and I thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you also for your support, because indeed that's what we've been doing. playing the role of listeners and enablers to understand what's working and what isn't, and to try and bring that message to the COP. So I'd now like to invite our other donor and funder, His Excellency H.R.H, the Special Envoy for Climate and Security from the Ministry of Affairs, Norway, to say a few words. Thank you, Hans.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Aju. I was told to speak close to the microphone, but this was maybe close. First, let me say that we have actually heard leadership in this room today. The previous speakers and all to the winners. It's just been a great event so far. Also, let me thank the First Lady for being with us here today. I'd also like to convey, this was not a good microphone, but convey greetings from my minister that is sorry he couldn't be here in Belém. I would also like to, from the outset, commend President Lula and the Brazilian government for the leadership bringing us all together here in Belém. Yeah. Today, actually, we've seen a demonstration of leadership and innovation. To close the adaptation gap, we need to scale up innovative solutions. We need to develop new innovative approaches. And that is what the winners have actually done here today. They presented the work that they've been doing. And I think you are setting an example. And I'm hoping that other organizations, other entities can scale up, replicate what you have been doing. I would like to congratulate the winners. You are actually the leaders in this room. We need to follow you. But of course, this applies to all the other finalists. I've also had, since I've been on the jury and I had to do the work for my minister, that's what we bureaucrats normally do. I had to read through all this short list, and it was great. It was really difficult to select the winners. So I would also like to give my credit and kudos to the ones that we don't have on stage today. But I hope that this is not the end of your journey, that you will continue your journey, because we need you to continue your innovation, to provide leadership, provide the new approaches that we others can scale up and replicate, because we have the work cut out for ourselves. So I wish you good luck. I will try to follow your work as best as I can, and let us all work together to make the COP30 here in Belém a real turning point where we can actually also move the adaptation issue forward, because that is of critical importance to all of us going forward. So again, thanks to President Lula and his leadership, and thank you, First Lady, for being present with us today and showing your leadership in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to invite Her Royal Highness Princess Dana Firas of Jordan to deliver a distinguished address. Her Royal Highness is the UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador for Cultural Heritage and the President of the Board of the Petra National Trust. And the trust, the reason why I said that we would like you to give the award to Preserving Legacies is because the trust was the original local partner of Preserving Legacies for the Climate Risk and Resilience in Petra project, which is supporting locally led action for the Petra World Heritage Site and surrounding community of Wadi Musa. Your Highness. Yes.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to all of you. What a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for including me. Your Excellency, Mrs. Rosângela Lula da Silva, First Lady of Brazil, thank you for honoring us with your presence. Professor Patrick Verkuyen, Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear colleagues and friends, it is a great honor to join you here today. And we meet in Belém, in the heart of the Amazon, where the vitality of nature reminds us that humanity's survival depends not only on innovation, but on wisdom. Wisdom carried through generations, embedded in the traditions, stories, and values of communities that have long lived in balance with their environment. Across the world, from the wadis and deserts to Jordan, to the forests of the Amazon, people have learned how to read the land, manage scarce resources, and sustain life in fragile ecosystems. The deep cultural knowledge, tested and refined over centuries, a true science, is humanity's oldest and most enduring form of climate adaptation. It connects people to place, strengthens trust, and builds social cohesion, the most fundamental elements of resilience. Adaptation is not only about infrastructure or technology. It is also about memory, meaning, and belonging. To be truly inclusive, co-created, and locally led, adaptation must be rooted in people's culture and heritage. The IPCC has shown that grounding adaptation in cultural memory and local knowledge enhances risk awareness, strengthens understanding, and accelerates the adoption of effective solutions. In other words, culture and heritage are not peripheral to adaptation, they are enablers of it. Yet too often, this knowledge is often overlooked. As President Lula said, this is the COP of truth. And the truth is, unless culture and heritage are fully integrated into climate policy, planning, and finance, we will not meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. There has been progress. The global goal on adaptation now includes a thematic target on cultural heritage. The first time global climate policy has recognized that safeguarding tangible and intangible heritage strengthens adaptive capacity, supports livelihoods, and sustains identity in the face of change. Your work has demonstrated all of this. This milestone, achieved at COP28, was the result of years of research, advocacy, coalition building, working with policymakers, and really pushing forward an agenda that has been left on the margins of the COP for far too long. This is only the beginning. I am proud that I work with organizations like ICMOS and the Climate Heritage Network and the Petronational Trust that are helping seizing the opportunity that this GGA presents. Later this week, in the framework of the COP30 Action Agenda, they will announce the launch of Heritage Adapts 3000 by 2030, a campaign to support thousands of heritage sites and cultural practices to implement locally led adaptive strategies by 2030. At the heart of this effort, and then I'm coming to a close, at the heart of this effort is human dignity. When people see their knowledge and their culture valued, they become true partners in climate action. Without dignity and inclusion, adaptation risks becoming a technical exercise disconnected from the human experience and ineffective in practice. This is why today's local adaptation champions matter so deeply. Their work proves that adaptation succeeds when it is locally led and culturally informed, when it listens to elders, when it empowers women and youth, and builds on the wisdom that communities already possess. These initiatives remind us that heritage and traditional knowledge are not obstacles to progress, but they are truly the foundation of resilience and renewal. As we look at COP30 and beyond, we must embed this understanding in every aspect of climate policy and finance. This is my hope, this is my wish, and Your Excellency, this is the message that we would like to get to the decision makers. Culture, like nature, is a life support system, nurturing belonging, purpose, and hope. Investing in it means investing in people's capacity to adapt, not with fear, but with confidence, creativity, and dignity. Ultimately, climate adaptation is not about surviving change, it is about sustaining the human spirit that has always found ways to rebuild, to connect, and to imagine a better future. To all of you, you honor us with your spirit and your work. Thank you so much for what you have done. Thank you for this invitation. Congratulations, and obrigado. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Highness, for those inspiring words. So Debbie mentioned the stories of resilience. This is a publication that we at GCA have been doing for the last 3 years, and this is the fourth. It's basically, it's where we listen to the communities, get their stories, write them down, and then translate them to say, what is the message that we bring to the global community? And I think, I mean, it's been pretty consistent over the past few years that communities are adapting. They're not getting the support they need. We at the global and national levels need to do much, much better. And this year, an additional point is that we need to measure progress not in terms of projects and outputs, but really in terms of the systems that are transformed to be able to enable local communities to take charge of their own resilience. So this year we have examples and lessons on inclusive funding, philanthropy, and justice. And we talk about how to align local priorities with national governance and finance to deliver lasting change. So I'd like to please request our high-level participants to stand and launch the publication for us. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So, and finally, the closing remarks from Professor Patrick Werkheim.
Well, actually, not really closing remarks, but a closing gift. We're here now for an hour. Everybody needs to go to other places. Actually, I have. Can you give me the two gifts? Oh, here you are. Because First Lady, we spoke about Dolrose. And just to make sure that you keep her in your heart during your engagement in the coming weeks and actually beyond, I just want to give you a token gesture. This is our headquarters in the Netherlands. This is the largest floating office in the world, in Rotterdam. This is a gift to you, Madam First Lady, to take you to remember what we have celebrated today. Thank you very much indeed. And the same obviously goes to Her Royal Highness. Thank you also so much for your powerful story and being with us today. And I'm really honored for you accepting this token gesture. And Hans Olaf and Debbie already have it.